Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's Matt Schulteis, and it is another Restaurant Mastermind interview during the whole coronavirus pandemic. And I'm super excited to be joined by Jamie, who owns Lizzy J Cafe in Chicago, Illinois. Jamie, how are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. How are you?
I'm doing very well. We're staying safe. Hopefully, you guys are as well. Uh,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, hey, thanks again for your time, for hopping on with us here and just being able to share, what you're seeing from your perspective, what's working for you, and any tips and tricks that you can share with other restaurant owners that can help them out too. So, thank you on that. One of the things I wanted to to bring up too, as well, is you've got a little bit of a unique kind of story. You arrived to Chicago as a transplant from the East Coast. How did that all happen?
Yeah, so I am a jack of all trades. I have had the pleasure of working in the dental field for 20 plus years. I've worked for some larger organizations, and my responsibility was to go into smaller mom and pop owned dentist offices and kind of, assess the opportunities for larger companies to assess those dental offices. And they actually brought me here into the lovely Chicagoland area.
Nice, nice. And so you always had a passion for food. You were telling me about that, and that was kind of what led you to opening your restaurant. So tell me, how did you get started, and what kind of food do you serve there?
So my story is a little it's a little unique. So I probably was a bit of a precocious kid. So from doing that, I would spend a lot of time with my grandmother. So my mother was a hardworking registered nurse. So she would work long hours. So I would spend a lot of time. My brother and I would spend a lot of time with my grandmother. So in doing so, I was always the one who my grandmother would say, "Don't leave the porch." I would leave the porch. "Don't go out the backyard." I would go out the backyard. So in punishment, I would have to actually be inside the kitchen with her. But little did I know that it would birth this passion for food. So I've watched my grandmother cook probably at the early age of 8. And by the time I was 12 or 13, I was like her sous chef, if you will, in the kitchen for all the major holidays and Sundays where we all would get together as family. And something that started out as a punishment very quickly became to something that I looked forward to, because I would spend all of this amazing time with my grandmother, and I would begin to, just extract information from her as far as food and her love of food. And it definitely transpired to me. So that's the name Lizzy J. I am the 5th generation of females named Elizabeth, which is my middle name, and all of our first names start with a J. So I thought, what better way to honor my family heritage than to call it Lizzy J. And
Yeah.
since I'm a bit of a turnaround, I flipped my Jamie Elizabeth to Lizzy J. So that's where the name comes from.
Nice. So what type of food do you guys serve there?
So we're a breakfast brunch cafe.
Okay.
So we serve things that would be unique to you, things like shrimp and grits, chicken and waffle, but they have my unique spin on them. So just for instance, our chicken and waffle is what we call that the Freddie's favorite. And that came from a Thanksgiving Friday, like that Thanksgiving, we have all those extra foods that are in the refrigerator. So we actually took the sweet potatoes that were left over, or candy yams, and we made a waffle batter. And from that, we came up with the sweet potato. And then I don't know if you eat macaroni and cheese, but you usually have 5 or 6 shredded types of cheese in the refrigerator. So we threw a little white cheddar in the sweet potato batter. And it's sweet, it's tart, it's an amazing combination of different flavors that are familiar, but it's a different thing that I don't believe not too many people do.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds fantastic. I mean, I'm gonna have to figure out. Hey, I can't go anywhere and get that out here. I'm gonna have to figure out how to make it on my own.
Who knows? Maybe I
Yeah.
might transplant to California next.
You never know. You never know. There's worse places to be, that's for sure.
I'm
Uh,
sure.
so I know we talked a little bit before we hopped on. What are some of the challenges that you saw just from everything happening with coronavirus?
So I think for me, the immediate notice or the immediate challenge was because I'm extremely friendly. I'm very talkative. I like to touch. I want to see my guest.
Yeah.
Was immediately our doors were closed. So that coming into the restaurant and sitting at tables and having conversation with people that were coming a part of our Lizzy J family were now individuals that were through the glass and individuals that were on the telephone. So very quickly we went from this thriving brand new business to absolutely, like how are we going to recreate ourselves so that people remember who we are and come in and buy food from us.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably the obvious initial like start that just kind of blew us away. We just like, well, what do we do? How do we even stay in front of our customer?
Right. I think that, and your challenge there too is the same thing that a lot of restaurant owners are having, is that when things change so suddenly, it just kind of left you like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? Like, how can we, keep things going, stay in front? And, we're humans, we're social creatures. We need to have, even despite the people who may be, relishing this time at home that they're having right now, there's going to come a time where we're going to need to get out and we're going to need to interact with other people. And like you said, you need to touch people, give people a hug, shake their hand, do something like, you know what I mean, to show how much you care and how much, you're happy and excited that they're there with you. And so, so from that, how were you able to overcome those challenges and then move forward and see some success?
So what's really strange, what you just described, is what people actually remembered. So my restaurant is located in very much a neighborhood. So I have tons of foot traffic. So when they would see the lights on and see us getting out of the car and going in, they would knock on the glass like and giving us the thumbs up, are you in, are you out? And they would inbox. So the beautiful thing is the community actually gave us the idea of creating weekly videos, like posting different types of food and asking, hey, you guys in? And we would like feature certain things, and the community actually created, they filled the void for us.
Yeah.
So it allowed me to think outside of the box. So one of the things that the restaurant does and does really well is we do bottled beverages as well as herbals and different types of teas. So those were things that we were packaging before the restaurant came along. So those things became in high demand. So it was a way to kind of keep our name in front of people, but at the same time, it was another introduction. Say, hey, did you want to grab one of those signature teas to go along with your meals? So it was a way to upsell, and it was a way for just the consumer to just say, hey, look, let me grab tea if if I'm not able to buy food. So I'm very grateful for that avenue.
Well, that's awesome, and that's some of the common themes that I've seen with these restaurant mastermind interviews is really the community. And when you are really kind of putting a lot of effort into creating that environment with your restaurant, that's when it comes through. Is in these hard times right now, as the community is coming together and saying, hey, these are the places that we really want to support because we have a relationship already with the owners and with the people who work here. We really like coming in, and we like, how we're treated when we come in. And so those are the places that people are remembering and spending their, the money that they can spend on takeout with places like yours, just because already going into it, they already had some sort of an emotional type of connection. So that's great to hear. It just continues to confirm everything, is that it's really all about, the owner's got to be out there. The owner's got to be making the connections with people as they're coming in, and really kind of allowing that then to drive everything else.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome. So I know that you just shared a great nugget there, but is there any other thing, like one or two more things that you've seen where a light bulb has maybe went off for you and you're like, oh, wow, like after things go back to normal, I'm going to continue to do this, or some other stuff that you might be able to share with other restaurant owners that could spark ideas for them?
Well, obviously authenticity. People love like we all are in the same boat. So like the playing field is level right now. So it's an opportunity to just be yourself, and people they love that naked truth. Like, hey, we're struggling, we're trying to keep our doors open, and people, they love that because they know that you're just like them. So they want to make that investment in. And what I have found is collaboration. So the restaurants that are in our area, we are collaborating, we're doing things together. So in my restaurant, I carry the bread that another a local bakery makes. We also do a certain type of burger. It's called the Cure. So there's a local, he's a smaller grocer and he grinds those meats himself. So we actually carry that. So it's kind of like stretching across the backyard, like back to when we were kids, you know, like our children. When I was a little girl, it was a big deal. You reached across your alleyway, if you will, if you lived in the inner city. And that's pretty much the prototype for what we're doing as businesses in the community. And obviously things like feeding those frontliners, those grocery store clerks, those nurses and doctors. So many of the restaurants that are in the community where I happen to be fortunate enough to be placed are feeding those communities. And I'm extremely fortunate to have that type of relationship and support.
Amazing. Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's, you know, that exhibits, it's just not a Midwest thing. It's that everywhere you go, the neighborhoods, and you have those certain places and the people that you know are going to be there to help support each other. And it's awesome that you're carrying the bread and they're grinding, you know, the butcher is grinding the meat, the grocery store is grinding the meat, and it's all just being used to benefit the community and all the people who live in the neighborhood. So, you know, awesome story. And, you know, Jamie, once again, thank you again for your time and for sharing all these beautiful nuggets of information and helpful stuff to all the restaurant owners and anybody else, business owners in general that might watch this. So once again, thank you very much. And we will hopefully talk again soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thank you.